Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. Now, with the Morning Magazine, here's Carl Hilke.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Magazine for this July 24th, 2019. You have your guest host, James J. Maloff, and we're in part two for the show today. We're going to be joined by Jennifer Bloom and Becky Kraus from the ODC and getting an update from them and talking about some of the great things going on over there. Right now, I have Sir Doug Machon in with us right now. I thought you'd like that. Wood County Board Chairperson. And Doug, thanks a lot for coming in this morning.
My pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah. How's you and your family and everything?
We're good. It's been needless to say, it's been a very hectic 4 days. Personally and also on the government side. So we've been busy.
So Doug is in today to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, and no,
I wish.
I make it light because that's just trying to make the situation a little bit, because this is a tough situation right now. But we do have storm updates for people and some information, some statistics that we're going to go over. And I'll let you go ahead and start right wherever you want, sir.
Okay. Well, as people know, it's been the storm was devastating. It probably couldn't have happened on a worse weekend for Wisconsin Rapids and the south end of the county. Of course, we had the state water ski show going on right in the heart of them getting rolling into the show. Complete devastation in the city. I don't think that's over-characterizing it a bit. Over 700 trees down in the city, most of them on power lines. 90 utility poles snapped. So the devastation was widespread. I think immediately I actually was racing home to try and get my truck in my garage, and missed it. I was coming home from the gym. I just started my workout. The windows in the gym completely fogged over, turned black as night. I was talking to some people. I said, I've had hail damage before. I'm going to try and make it for home. Took off down A Street. Well, I wasn't a block away. Lights, traffic lights, I could see them all the way down. Bam, they went black. All the stores, bam, black. I thought, I'm not going to make it home. By then, it's torrential rain. I had a for sale sign whip across A Street at about 35 miles an hour, hit my truck. I thought, I'm going to have to go to the car wash and try and get installed at the car wash behind the Politos.
Politos, yeah.
And I got there. There's a car in every stall.
Oh yeah,
that's it. Holy cow! I'm looking around at St. Luke's Church. They got an overhang, so I go over there. There's a guy parked in a little car. He leaves me just enough room. I squeeze in here with my car. While I'm in there, 2 trees fall on the church.
Wow!
My truck is shaking. I'm thinking, holy cow, this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Needless to say, got home, had 2 large trees down in my own yard. One blocking the garage, which I was going to park my truck in. Here, that a second round of storm is coming, so I'm getting my chainsaw and I'm cutting this tree up so I can get my truck in the garage. When the second round of storms didn't really develop the way they thought, I started to survey the damage. My immediate thoughts were the water ski show. Went out to South Park. A lot of damage there. Miraculously, this is one of the amazing things to me, is as many large trees as were downed in the city. No one was injured by the initial storm. Nobody had a tree fall on them. No cars had a tree, which I think is a blessing,
it
obviously, and almost miraculous.
Yeah.
We did unfortunately have one injury during the cleanup,
certainly,
which those things happen. It's unfortunate, but for the initial storm not to have, with the amount of devastation throughout the city, not to have any fatalities or serious injuries, I was amazed by that.
It is. You use the word miraculous, and it is. I don't think that we can use that. I think that that's one of those times. This is one of those times where that word is appropriate.
Yeah.
That there isn't. Things could always be worse, and perspective goes a long way right now.
And it's good that you mentioned that, because I wanted to say, I know that it's been a hardship for many people in the city without power. We realize how dependent we are on our power. And I happened to pay my water bill yesterday, or my light bill at Water and Light, and there was people actually lining up there to complain about this, when their service wouldn't get back, and they were being electrical engineers and describing poles, and their neighbors had power. And you know what? Everybody needs to remain calm and let the professionals do their job.
Yeah.
They're not picking and choosing who gets power according to personality or income level or anything else. They're doing it tactically the way they're trained to do it, to be the most effective and to do it as quickly as possible. So I would relate to those people that, let the professionals do their job, stay out of their way. We're all in dire straits. Everyone's suffered through this, some more than others. Let's hang together, let's work together, and we'll get back to where we need to be.
We can all empathize with anybody that is dealing with it harder than others, or still looking for power and this and that. But again, what you said, these are also. So yesterday, my parents got power for a little bit, for about an hour, and then it went out. And my dad was running around. They didn't have a phone. I had a cell phone. I go over there. I call Water and Light, and immediately, as soon as I get the lady on the phone from there, you can hear the exhaustion in her voice. Yeah. And I just told her exactly what I just said to you. Was very calm, was very cool about it. She couldn't have treated me nicer. And I told her, well, hey, thanks. I want to say, as long as I got you here, thanks to all you guys and what you're doing right now. Great. And the happiness and relief from her that that I said something like that, and I was just trying to be conversational, really, and thank that. But it was like she had never heard anything like that before. Yeah. And I think we forget these are people who are living in this town too. Absolutely. These are people who are going through the same things we are. They're our neighbors, exactly. Just
they're
like
probably without power as well.
Exactly. So I mean, the idea that that they're like dragging their feet or something like that. Like some of this stuff is a little out of hand to me. Some of the complaints. I empathize and I sympathize with anybody struggling, but I feel like also
keep perspective. Yeah.
Exactly, and the bottom line that, like you said, that we didn't have any fatalities, that we didn't have any, the outside of the serious injuries certainly happening to the gentleman, trying to do cleanup. That the initial storm did not create anything. Yeah. That is miraculous. That is something.
I think so. And I'd like to give a shout out to, because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are never going to get any recognition for this, that have been up to their eyeballs in this, and the strategies for recovery in all aspects. We had some gas leaks to deal with countywide that people didn't even probably realize. They're more concerned about power. But I would really love to give a shout out to our emergency management crew at the county. Steve Cruiser, our emergency management director, his staff, Mark Stickney and Sarah Christensen, have done a fantastic job. Along with our public information officer for any kind of catastrophic events like this, Trent Miner, who's also our county clerk. The people that we dealt with in the other communities, our sheriff, our health officer, Sue Comferman, those people were all involved in very important conference calls with our outlying municipalities as far as restoration of power, food safety, fire safety, all aspects, flooding, all aspects of this catastrophic event were handled from our emergency operations center in the courthouse. We were meeting regularly in the morning and the afternoon for updates, and some of the information I have from those meetings is pertinent. We had yesterday at 4 o'clock, I believe we had 84 linemen from other jurisdictions in town working their hinders off to restore power. I saw trucks from Sturgeon Bay, Wanakee, all over the state, as well as local areas, Friendship. But the mutual aid has been outstanding and probably has gotten us back on our feet quicker than we could have definitely quicker than we could have by ourselves. Again, 700 trees down on lines. The head of the Water and Light said he'd never seen that many trees down anywhere in his life. 84 linemen from other jurisdictions. Here's a fact that people might be interested in. The labor costs on this are around $200,000 a day for the restoration of power. Hopefully we'll get some help from the state on that. Highest wind gust during Saturday's storm, 91 miles per hour in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
So, and if you see individual trees that are 18 inches wide, and they're pushed over and they're standing by themselves, it takes a lot of force to push to have that small area to push against with a wind to topple a tree or a telephone pole. You're talking about some street lights blown over, street signs blown over.
Street signs just completely decapitated. I mean, just taken off.
I mean, you can't imagine that, but I can certainly imagine it when I'm sitting in my truck and my truck is shaking like it's going to levitate. But it was a scary stuff. And back to the economic, again, devastation for the county, for the south end in particular, during the water ski show. When you look at the economic impact of the storm, those numbers, I'm sure when we get off, and I'm in contact with Meredith Klecker, who heads our Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Wisconsin Rapids, because I wanted to be able to put some numbers to that eventually, and she's working up those numbers right now. But Saturday night, no place to eat in town.
Yeah.
Sunday as well, no place to eat in town. Of course, I was without power myself, so my wife and I, after we were doing some initial work, cleanup around the house, in the yards, we're looking for a place to eat. We didn't have any food. Refrigerator was out.
Yeah.
Went in search of food. A Street has nothing.
Yeah.
No restaurants. Can't even find a fast food place. And so we ended up driving to Plainfield so we could go through past South Park and see what we could do. The restaurants on the fringe areas that had power were just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed with people. We ended up eating in Nakusa.
I've never seen Chips so busy.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard, that Chips was the only place on the west side.
Chips, yeah, I got to think that they had a record Saturday. I mean, looking at silver linings here.
I heard that the McDonald's in Nakusa actually had to shut down early because they ran out of food.
Wow.
That there was a big run on, of course, big run on ice. I couldn't buy it. My wife, I talked to my wife after the storm. She was working until 2 o'clock in Stevens Point. I said, bring some ice home. We're going to be without power for a while. And she couldn't buy a bag of ice. They were lined up literally around the block at a gas station in Stevens Point to buy ice.
We're speaking with Wood County Chairperson Doug Machon, and of course I want to mention too that we have Andy Radigan with us with Wood County, Wisconsin Rapids County Media. We appreciate you being in, Andy. Thanks a lot. Doug, what updates do we have right now as far as things are going?
I have some things here and this is information as of 4 o'clock yesterday, our conference call from the EOC, and South Park was still without power at that time. Electricity at North and Dexter, they have power. The South Park is completely booked for this weekend. Hopefully we'll have power restored by then. There are still a few openings at North Park and Dexter. The front entrance to North Park is closed because of some flooding. That may change before the weekend, I'm not sure. But for now, you'd have to use the rear entrance to the park. Widespread damage and tree limbs down in all of our parks. We're working to address that situation as we speak. Again, South Park is completely booked for the weekend. There are some sites available at North and Dexter. Damage to campers. We did have some damage to campers. That should be reported to your insurance companies, not the county. The county's not going to be able to do anything for you there. The ATV intensive use area is closed for the foreseeable future. Lots of trees down there. Unsafe right now. The ironic thing is it had just opened up on Friday.
Yeah.
And so because of flooding there. So that situation is kind of day by day. Keep monitoring the county website. For the county's website as well as the county's Facebook page has ongoing information, up to the minute information on all our facilities, so you can get information there. All boat landings are cleared and open. That's one good thing.
Yeah.
Lake Wazicha walking trail has a lot of trees down. So they're working on addressing that. We're advising not to use those trails for the time being. And if you do, be very, very careful. There are a lot of limbs and branches down on that trail. North Park main gate closed, as I mentioned. And as of 4 o'clock yesterday, there was about 2,000 people in Wisconsin Rapids without power yet. 45 outside crews in, as I mentioned, some from as far away as Sturgeon Bay, Wanakee. There were some other very far away ones down Racine, possibly. Largest mutual aid ever in the state of Wisconsin, I'm told, as far as power restoration. So anybody that thinks they're not working as hard as they can on this problem, it could be. And again, I was told yesterday by one of the crews that was actually from, I think it was Sturgeon Bay crew that I talked to, as my parents were getting hooked up. They said now the work gets harder. because they were working on pods of 60 and 80 customers. Now, as we get to the final stages of the power restoration, it becomes situations where maybe an individual home has their power line directly into their house at the mast snapped off. Those things take time. You have to have an electrician there and the power company simultaneously. So those individual situations are a little bit more time consuming. And as we get down to that point where it's going to be a pod of individual houses, those people obviously are probably going to be the last ones hooked up. So they're probably going to be the ones that are going to be without power the longest. So you're looking at days here yet, possibly. Hopefully we can have everyone hooked up by the weekend, hopefully. I'm not sure. I'll know more this afternoon when we have our final, probably, conference call from the EOC.
And as you get updated with information, Doug, how quickly can that get out to the public?
That goes out right away. Our public information officer, which is, again, the county clerk, Trent Miner, gets that stuff posted right away. Sarah Christensen at Emergency Management also has ways to relay that information. A lot of the city information is coming through the county website right now. We had some shelter-type situations open over the weekend. I believe Lincoln High School is open for people that need to take showers, that kind of stuff. They're open, I believe, until 9 a.m. or 9 p.m.
9 p.m., yeah.
I'm not sure. I think that Nakusa High School was doing the same thing. So those opportunities are available. We had probably a more serious situation with medical people that needed power for medical things like refrigerated medications and also oxygen units that had to be recharged or plugged in. And so Centralia Center was open on most of those days. I think the hospital was offering some of those services as well. Those things were critical as the priority. Obviously, the number one priority from the power standpoint on Saturday was the hospital right away.
Yeah.
And then once the hospital was hooked up, it was our long-term care facilities, Edgewater. Those premises obviously have auxiliary power, but we wanted to get them back on grid power as quickly as possible. And then after that, it just became priorities within, I'm sure, probably the number of customers that they could get reattached as quickly as possible.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, Doug, and so Sunday morning I reached out to some of our friends over at the Weather Center and was asking them, Saturday going into this and the storm and such, talking to them. It seemed like a storm. It seemed like it could be a bad one, but nobody really saw this coming. As far as they go, as far as talking to them about it and everything, I don't think anybody expected it to be as bad or as damaging. You can't see these kind of things necessarily always coming. Certainly you can sometimes, but not all the time. And with something like that, so there is nothing we can do about what's already happened. Are you guys using this as much as a serious situation? You're also learning from this too, and doing what you can to be prepared if something like this happens again?
Certainly, and that's the way I look at it. But from the county standpoint, actually, dispatch was up on this one.
Yeah, they were.
Knew it was coming, and they knew it was going to be bad. And they actually were able to give the water ski show, which was critical. I mean, we're talking about a lot of people in the elements out there that are wide open. An hour and a half. They basically called and said, "Hey, you got an hour and a half to do something. This thing's coming, and it's going to hit hard." And so that part of it was. I think that may have been part of what saved us a lot of injury, or incredibly could have been.
Yes,
because they were able to relay to those people. You got an hour and a half, and so I think one of the important lessons we're getting here is how we are handling our emergency operations center and how we're handling the coordination of a catastrophic event. I know that I have seen a lot, and I've had some questions on how we're going to do this in the future. Can we use this to massage our technique or our protocol? And I think there certainly are some, as in any event like this, you're going to have some learning, and I think we will. But I think overall, we've done a fantastic job, not only as a county and as an emergency management team, but as a city as a whole. As a population, I think there's been, you see neighbors helping neighbors. I think one of the incredible things I noticed on Sunday night, I took a bike ride through my district just to kind of canvass the area and the constituency. how many people had power. And there were large pockets within my district in the city that were without power yet on Sunday evening. Well, you're talking about over 24 hours at that point, and it becomes, you start to feel it. I thought some really neat stuff was ingenuity. When you see people that had campers were actually pulling their campers up in front of their houses or onto their lawns, and campers are pretty much self-contained, and they were firing up their camper generators and living in their camper, saying, you know what, I have the compass, I have a shower in my camper, I have a stove in my camper, I'm going to move into my camper for a couple days if I have to. I thought that was incredibly outside the box thinking and really innovative. But
I'm always impressed by the human spirit.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and our ability to adapt.
Yep, neighbors helping neighbors. I
Yes.
mean, neighbors run. I saw extension cords going from a generator at one person's house next door to another generator. So I mean, even if it's having a light bulb or maybe firing up your microwave for a couple of minutes to cook something. So those kind of things are always heartwarming and tell you a lot about what kind of people we have living in Wisconsin Rapids and how resilient our community can be when faced with really a dire situation at about noon on Saturday. Things look bleak.
A situation that I don't think anybody has really experienced before in this magnitude, in this way.
I've never seen anything like this in my life in Wisconsin Rapids.
And to see people in that's a big statement right there. For somebody who's you lived here your whole life, and so that alone, you're not the only one that I've heard say that. Now, one of the things that you touched on there that I think is really great to wrap up on is the people and the way people have come together with this and everything. And we were talking before we went on air about it, and I saw in my parents' neighborhood people who have never gotten along Sunday morning having coffee together and laughing, and while one of the sons was chopping some up and everything. I mean, you see a lot of that, and I think that's. Again, we try to find silver linings with these things, and that is a big one right there, is the people.
Through desperation, we sometimes connect with our humanity. It's ironic, but
absolutely. It's an interesting thing, what brings people together. But it has been wonderful to see. Doug, before we let you go, is there anything you wanted to touch on?
No, I just want to, again, give my thanks to everybody that was part of the restoration for the electric. Again, thanks to all the outside crews that have come in under the mutual aid. We can see how critical those arrangements are, how well thought out that training is for all the crews, that they could work together so seamlessly, understand what everyone was doing. There was no confusion, there was no chaos. Everything went smoothly from that standpoint. Again, the emergency operations group, fantastic job. Very impressed.
Yeah, they did a great job. Well said, Doug. And thank you very much for the time.
No problem.
Appreciate it. We've been speaking with Doug Machon, Wood County Board Chairperson, with a storm update for you. And I want to also thank Wisconsin Rapids Community Media's Andy Raddick for being with us. Thank you, Andy. We will have part 2 coming up of Morning Magazine with Jennifer Bloom and Becky Krause with an ODC update for you. Stay tuned for more Morning Magazine on AM 1320 WFHR.